This here is the first truly all-new Nissan Leaf in a while. Nissan has fixed all of the shortcomings of the previous generation car and have priced it as perhaps the most affordable or best EV value on sale today. Is it any good? We finally get a chance to drive it, so let's go and find out. Finally, I get a chance to get behind the wheel of the all-new 2025, 2026 Nissan Leaf. There goes one in camouflage right now because we're at Nissan's Tech Center in Farmington Hills, Michigan. Not really sure why this one's still wrapped in camo, but I'm probably going to follow it for the sake of argument. Oh, no, I'm not. He's going across to a different part of the facility, and that would look wrong. Anyway, what's new? Everything. Is the Leaf kind of good? Yeah, it's actually really pretty good. And I'm going to tell you about it now because the Leaf, like I said, the Leaf is all new. It's built on the same platform as the Aria, built in the same plant as the Aria. And even though we're not going to see the Aria for 2026, that's kind of the real recent news, we will be seeing Leafs. This Leaf has, I believe, 216 horsepower. I'll double check that and put it on the screen if I'm wrong. And like 261 pound-feet of torque. Again, I'll double check it, put it on the screen if I'm wrong. Which is, and that comes from a 75 kilowatt hour battery and a front motor. This is a front-wheel drive car, just like the old one. Only way it comes right now, and that's okay. That's fine. It's a Leaf. With Aria going away for a model year, you won't be able to get a Nissan electric with all-wheel drive, but I do think that this car is a decent bit better than the Aria, all things considered. So the only versions that we have available to drive today, and were only available on the Media First launch, were the Platinum Plus trims. These Platinum Plus trims are the fully loaded models. They have the roof that does cool little dimming tricks, has a heads-up display, has the larger infotainment screen with Google built in. It has the Tailor Fits. I want to keep calling them Tailor Made, but those are golf clubs. The Tailor Fits artificial fake leather zero gravity seats. And it has a battery. It has a heat pump for the. It's a hybrid heating system, so it's a hybrid between a heat pump and the resistive heater for when it gets really cold. And 19-inch wheels, which apparently are really heavy because while the S Plus trim, which is the one that's made all of the news, it's starting before delivery under $30,000, or realistically right around $31,000 with delivery. That one has 18-inch wheels. This one has 19. That drops the range from 303 miles on the S Plus to really kind of a sad 259 on this Platinum Plus trim. The mid-spec one, so the SV Plus, gets 288 miles, and I'm going to explain to you why in a little bit, why I think that's probably the one to get. So, initial impressions. This drives pretty well. It has an independent rear suspension. Who would have thought four wheels on a car? Let's treat them all separately and independently. Like, who would have thought that would work? That does work. The roads around Farmington Hills, being outside of Detroit, are bad. So this handles bumps and construction and stuff pretty well. The cabin is reasonably quiet, especially at higher speeds, with very little wind noise coming from the mirrors. There is some wind noise. It's not the quietest EV I've driven by any stretch, but it's not bad, and much quieter than the old car, I think, and quieter than, let's say, like a Model 3 would be at similar speeds. You may look at the horsepower number and be like, that's not enough. But I promise you, for most people, most daily driving, it's plenty. I think it has a lot of grunt off the line. Does a little bit of torque management on initial press of the pedal, so it doesn't jolt your head quite back, maybe the way a Tesla would. But when you're on the highway, especially when you're already kind of moving at a decent clip on the highway, and you want to overtake, you put your foot down and it goes. Like, it goes quicker than some other EVs that I've driven that have more power. So it doesn't it doesn't feel like you're really making a sacrifice for anything. And let's not forget that this isn't supposed to be a GTR. This isn't supposed to be a performance car. This is supposed to be kind of utilitarian everyday transport. And if you look at it through that lens, with the price that it is, a lot of things start to make sense. So this car with destination is right around $40,000. It's 38 something and 1495 for delivery, like whatever. Um, Lots of cool stuff. And like I said, the SV Plus trim is probably the way you want to go. But let's talk about some of those pluses. The car has on SV Plus and Platinum Plus, it has Google built in for the infotainment system. So instead of um, a native non-Google system, whatever, it's actually using Google's Android Automotive. It supports wireless CarPlay and Android Auto, unlike the new GMs that also use a similar system. And it seemingly works pretty well. They all work very similar, to be completely honest with you. But the advantage of using Google built in is you get Google Maps built in, and that connects to the car and gives you all the charging information stuff you need. So the dynamic route planning of this car is actually good. Um, the Aria used a different system, wasn't nearly as good. Volkswagen system, last one I used, really wasn't good at all. With Tesla still being probably the best in breed for dynamic route planning, but by adopting the Google in this case, like it solves a lot of problems that maybe the other infotainment systems in previous electric Nissans had. So great job there. It's disappointing you don't get it in the S Plus trim, which I think will be the volume, but Nissan says the SV will be. But you still get wireless CarPlay and Android Auto, but I'd rather have the Google built in. What else? Gosh, like I said, it's quiet. These seats are super comfy. Honestly, they're super comfy. I'd like to take one on a longer trip, and I will when I get the car for a week to do range testing and stuff like that, to really kind of see if they're comfortable over a long trip. But Nissan does these zero gravity seats, and while it is branding more than anything, every car that I've driven that's had them has been pretty comfortable on longer journeys. Like they really put thought into sort of the ergonomics of the seat and the pressure points on your body and things like that. So um, it's cool. It's comfortable. There's some new battery specific things, EV specific things in the infotainment. One clever thing that I think it does really well is it shows you at any given time, like if you open the battery heater menu. I don't know if you get it if you don't get the battery heater, but under that menu there is a display that shows you specifically how many kilowatts can the car take at any given time. So if you pull into a charger at a 70% state of charge, you might only be able to get 55 kilowatts out of the charger. This will tell you only be able to get 55 kilowatts out of it. So you're not confused as why you don't get the peak charging rate. Mercedes' EQ software does that. It's the first time I've seen it from a volume manufacturer. And I think it's super clever. I think the more information that you can give the driver, the better. It reduces the learning curve, it reduces the confusion, it helps people understand whether it's the car that's the problem or if it's maybe a charging station that's a little wonky. Like it just makes things better, more gooder. Steering wheel's comfortable. This is the premium one with all the leather wrapping and the fanciness, and some touch sensitive buttons that I'm not a super duper big fan of. Like you have to actually press them so they're not touch sensitive, but I don't know. I prefer kind of buttons. Something weird about the Google based Nissans. This isn't just in the Aria or in the Leaf, but something I've noticed because it's the first one that I've driven because I haven't really been covering gas-only cars for a while. But the little jog wheel is slanted, so it makes sense if your natural thumb movement, but it's very weird. It looks like it's put on wrong. Kind of bothers me. Not enough to not buy the car, but it's a little weird. But really, other than saying a lot, this car's really nice inside, especially when you factor in the price. Yes, some plastics are plastic. Who would have thought? But all of them seem to have at least a premium-ish look to it, and a lot of them have a premium feel as well. Like you can injection mold plastic and make it look really clever, or you can make it look really stupid. And I've seen some automakers make it look really stupid, and in this case, I don't believe that that's the case. I think they've done a good job at making the interior inexpensive without making it feel cheap. I haven't seen the S Plus version yet. They don't have one here. Who knows when we'll see one? All of the press cars have been Platinum Pluses, and the first drives were all Platinum Pluses. So it could be dramatically different, but I don't believe that'll be the case. And if that is the case, that it isn't changed significantly, then it's a pretty high quality interior for the price point, sort of regardless of whether it's an EV or not. And I think that's really like the main kind of value here. It's like, this is not an expensive car with a lot of features for these days not a ton of money. Yes, $35,000 is still a lot of money for a lot of people. I'm not going to say it's not, but there is some really clever things going on here. Why do I think the SV Plus would be the trim I would go with? So I don't live in a smile state, which is the states, the South states that kind of only ever see sunshine. I'm in a much more seasoned environment where seasons happen. And when you have seasons, the temperatures and stuff change. So here's the thing. The S Plus version does not come with the heat pump for the climate control. It is only just a resistive heater. It doesn't have the hybrid setup. Going to the SV Plus adds the heater, or adds the thermal or the heat pump. The heat pump is way more efficient for warming the cabin than a resistive heater, and you can take advantage of it starting at 50 degrees or less. So you can see a range difference using a heat pump over a resistive heater, which is why a lot of cars, EVs, have those. Now, a lot of those cars are a hybrid setup, meaning that once it gets to a certain cold point, a heat pump no longer can heat the car. So then you have to have a resistive heater for picking that up. Not even sure if I live in a climate where that's the case, but it's a global car. So I think that's important. And then you can only get the battery heater in the SV Plus or higher, and it's an a la carte option. So when you want to precondition for a charging, there are certain things the thermal management can do, but if you want to really be able to put heat in the pack, so let's say it's 0 degrees Fahrenheit, so what is that, a -7-ish Celsius? I don't do math. I'm American now, but say you're at 0 degrees Celsius or 0 degrees Fahrenheit, like even driving along down the highway, your battery is going to cool as you drive, even though it's generating heat because it's discharging electricity. The heater makes up for that. So the advantage of that heater is that you can then go into a fast charger and charge at a faster rate because the battery doesn't have to warm up. Or you can precondition it before you leave the house, and then it's already warmed up, so it's able to be more efficient. So it's not using electricity off the plug to heat it. It's boring, complicated stuff that most consumers kind of shouldn't even really have to worry about. But I do appreciate that, like, instead of just not offering it, they offer it a la carte, so like you can check the box. But me, in the climate that I live in, I would do the SV Plus because I want the Google built-in, I want the heat pump, and I want the battery heater. The fancy roof, I could take or leave it. It's cool, but it doesn't go really far enough forward for me to really notice or see it or check it out. So I don't know how much benefit I would get out of it, or my front seat passenger. It would be something that, like, if you were in the rear seats, is where you would see the most benefit. Then the heads-up display, it does work with my sunglasses. I mean, major props there. I just don't know if I need a car with a heads-up display. It's nice, but I don't think I'd pay extra for it. And yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see the non-tailor-made seats, but I think that's where I would go. And that's before delivery, 33. So with delivery, 35. It's right in the same price of Equinox, the base Equinox. This car, base, like this SV Plus compared to the base Equinox, they both charge at 150 kilowatts. They'll both have NACS at some point. The Equinox doesn't yet, but this does have a NACS connector. It's a complicated charging situation. Link in the description to explain the charging situation. a little bit better than I can on video. But this has NACS, Equinox doesn't. This has wireless CarPlay and Android Auto, Equinox doesn't. Both peak charge at 150 kilowatts. Haven't tested the charging curve yet on this. Inside, they both feel pretty nice. I think I lean a little bit more towards the Nissan's interior. And then, yeah, they're both front-wheel drive, so it's not like you're getting any all-wheel drive benefit there. So it might come down to whatever release is better, but I do think that MSRP to MSRP, this is a better overall experience than Equinox. Start adding some features to Equinox, feature for feature. But like, I think this is a better deal there with the SV Plus. And all versions of the Leaf come with ProPilot Assist. Now it's the 1.0 version, so it's the hands-on version. But it is, in my opinion, better than a lot of the level 2 systems that are out there that are still hands-on. Would I love to see the hands-off one? Sure. And I think you can get it on Equinox on the higher trims, with the pricier trims, but it all comes down to cost. This car is $30,000. What a deal! What a deal! A couple of surprise and delight things. This is the first car that I've driven with Android or with Apple CarPlay, where the Waze map was also projected on the instrument cluster. I've seen it project Apple CarPlay before, Apple Maps. I've never seen it project Waze. I don't know if that's a feature of iOS 26 or if it's something this car just does. I'm assuming it's iOS 26, but hey, let's give Nissan credit here. I'll give them that. So that's actually really cool because I like using Waze, and you would never see the redundant map over here. So being able to see the redundant map over here is excellent. That means you can have your Waze up here, you can have your music over here. Like, it's clever. So I like that a lot. And this car, it's been running now for a couple of hours. It's been doing a lot of idling because I was sitting and talking to some people, and it was also doing a particularly high rate of speed at one point to check how windy and stuff it is. It's been doing a lot of like quote unquote auto journo stuff, and 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour. So yeah, I think in normal driving, even like on the highway, I think you're probably going to see 4. If I would expect that when I get to do the highway range test of this, I wouldn't be surprised if I was at a big 4 miles per kilowatt hour, which is, I think, excellent. 75 kilowatt hour battery at 4, that's what, 300 miles. It's rated at 288. So that would be excellent, actually. So I think Nissan's got a great product here. I mean, if the car was $5 or $6 more expensive, maybe I could nitpick on some things. But at the price that it's at, it punches above. It does punch above its price point. So good job, Nissan. When Nissan first talked about pricing, I thought maybe the shorter range, shorter battery, smaller battery version would be the one that comes in at $31,000. I did not expect the S Plus with 303 miles of range to be that $30,000 value. Now, you do lose some range as you move up in price, but all 3 trim levels that are currently available, or they're at the port right now, so they'll be available very soon, represents some real value in EV. I think this is extremely competitive against the Equinox. I think it's probably better in a lot of ways than the Kona or Niro. They're at ports now, which means they should be in dealers any day.